sugar-free lies, serving sizes, and was Biden receiving cancer treatment during his presidency?
Illness, preventing illness, topics that I was touching upon, which will segue into the next area that we're going to be covering. So here we go.
How much sugar in a sugar-free Tic Tac?
There's no sugar in a sugar-free Tic Tac.
Oh, you've done so well up to this point.
Is it sugar-free doesn't mean there's no sugar,
Well,
does it?
Does,
Oh.
but within certain limits,
Yeah.
according to the Food and Drug Administration. It's just the American.
A little calorie.
A little bit. It's pretty much all sugar, but they're so small. The law says that if it's only half a gram of sugar, it doesn't count as sugar. It doesn't count as any. According to their own website, Tic Tac, registered trademark mints, do contain sugar as listed in the ingredient statement. However, since the amount of sugar per serving, one mint is a serving, since the amount of sugar per serving is less than half a gram, FDA labelling requirements permit the nutrition facts to state that there are 0 grams of sugar per serving.
Okay.
Yeah, and I think our next topic is right on that same exact conversation point, which is serving sizes. The fact that companies can imagine and decide and determine whatever serving size they want allows them to play a whole bunch of games with a whole bunch of foods. And even years ago, I started noticing this, and just comparing it was just an entertaining thing to do. I remember as a kid, I started noticing the differentiation about serving sizes, and it's like, how does any of this make sense? And it didn't, and it was an entertaining thing to watch and keep track of and joke about with friends back then. And I think they probably do a much funnier job in this next clip. So let's go ahead and give it a watch.
Yeah, so the next clip's Chris Kohler, and he has a lot of videos like the one that we're about to put up. But it's interesting, if for those that didn't see on the screen what we were looking at, in that show, they were actually putting an image of the ingredient list. And guess what the first ingredient for the sugar-free Tic Tacs was? That was the first ingredient in the sugar-free Tic Tac, sugar. But again, because the quantity for the serving size of one Tic Tac is below the minimum threshold, they can still legally say it as that you're not consuming sugar. How ridiculous is that? Let's look at this tongue-in-cheek Chris Kohler segment as to how companies come up with the serving sizes. It probably isn't all that far from the truth. Here we go.
You ready? The first one is mints. Okay, 1 is a serving size. What? That can't be serious. No, seriously, 1 mint. In fact, they're so small, apparently we can say that they're sugar-free, even though that's the main ingredient. Okay. Next is a bag of orange triangular chips. Yep, 27 grams. Aren't the bags like at least 45 grams? They are. That's just confusing, but okay. Okay, next is pizza from the country's biggest pizza restaurant chain. Yes, 1 slice. What? A serving is 1 slice. Can you write it down? Next, cooking oil. Righto, 5 grams. But doesn't it come in a 400 gram spray can? Yeah. How's anybody gonna know what 5 grams is? Can you stop with the incredulity? We've got so many more of these to do. But this is insane. I know, the government just said we had to do recommended serving sizes, so we're doing it. They never said it had to make sense or even be rooted in reality. Hey, can I have another one of those sugary, sugar-free mints? They're pretty good. No, don't be a guts. You've already had one.
Yeah.
That's really far from the truth.
No, not at all. And anybody unfamiliar, he is Hysterious Australian, and he does a whole bunch of clips on these kind of business stories, mostly shorts, these like business decision discussions, and it's all him obviously wearing different suits and stuff, but it's very entertaining and very funny. So definitely go ahead and take a look at some of his other stuff because they're all very enjoyable.
Yeah, we definitely look up his other content. And he's very funny, and he obviously focuses on topics that have value. I think, again, you mentioned previously, we've discussed how satire and humor is sometimes the best way to bring up topics that people perhaps are uncomfortable discussing. And he does
Show
a
the
really good job.
absurdity of the world around us, and he does a very good job at doing that.
Absolutely. And we just thought we would cushion maybe the next conversation on with at least a little bit of humor first. Certainly, the thing in the news this week involves former President Biden being diagnosed with advanced prostate cancer. Prostate cancer is one of the most important for men. The best way to think about it is if a man lives long enough, he will probably have prostate cancer. Oftentimes, the man will die of something else, maybe old age. If they have an autopsy, it'll be what they call an incidental finding. It's shocking, but a reality that some type of growth in the prostate is not unexpected the longer you live. So screenings are available, and there's obviously an expectation that men keep an eye on prostate health to avoid suffering the rages of advanced cancer. But suddenly now we have this announcement that former president, who obviously was being examined by the White House medical staff and was obviously under close scrutiny for all this time, how somehow it missed all the basic, even basically asking him if he had any issues urinating, how that all somehow didn't get caught is, I think, somewhat unbelievable, but that's what they're saying. So we're going to play a couple of the clips that are circulating around from the legacy media, and we'll talk a little bit about this topic and just to bring attention certainly to cancer health and cancer treatments. And it's just a topic that I think everyone needs to be aware of, because I think most people either have been impacted directly by cancer of some type or have a close friend or family member who is battling cancer or has in the past. So I think it's an important thing for us to do our part in just bringing it up. Let's play the first clip.
Don't news people have to tell you what they know when they find it out? Isn't that the difference between news and a secret? Breaking news in a week.
So true. Because all they're doing is trying to sell this guy's book when he could have had those same contacts, got those same answers 4 years ago. And the New York Post, in their editorial today, said there's got to be a bipartisan look on why the 25th Amendment wasn't used.
100%.
Because there are cabinet secretaries that said that his meetings were incomprehensible, and they needed to give the questions to their own president ahead of time so we can get the answers on a card.
I asked Pete Buttigieg this at the DNC, and these people lie so much, and he pretended like it never even happened. And now they're saying we need a ceasefire because now, and we're all praying for the president. Trust me, we believe in prayer. But the idea, just because he has cancer, that we're just going to let this be swept under the rug is not happening.
So obviously the mention there is the fact that there was some mental acuity issues, which we all saw. It was blatant, and we're all questioning this. The reason I think it's important to bring that up, and that's been, obviously there's now been books that are being published that actually all of a sudden all these people that surrounded the former president are admitting that he was incapable back then and didn't know what day of the week it was practically. And now they're coming out and people say, why didn't you mention it back then? Why are you mentioning it now? But the reason I think it's important in light of the cancer diagnosis is, what did they know? Number one. And then number two, if he was being treated for cancer for the last several years, the reality is the treating of the cancer could have led to a mental decline. There's something they call chemo brain, which years ago, when they started seeing this, they discounted it. It was seen primarily in women who had breast cancer and tumors that were being treated. And ultimately, they basically said it's just hormones, it's nothing. And then when they started seeing men having the same issue, they realized that was clearly not a female hormone issue. And then they realized it wasn't just the chemotherapeutic agents, it's the destruction of the tumor cells that do create a situation where patients have a significant decline. I've seen this firsthand, where you have individuals who had undergone radiation chemotherapy where they can't tell left from right. You hand them a remote control for a television and they can't turn the television on or change the channels. Okay, so that could explain, if he was in fact receiving treatment for the last several years, it could be what was impacting his mental acuity at that time. Everyone's denying it for the time being, but the question is this: if he has advanced cancer, how long did he have it? And tumors don't pop up overnight. They take years to grow. There's typically symptoms at some point. And before it gets to this advanced stage, certainly in prostate cancer, Typically, you'll have urinary symptoms. So that's really what people are questioning.
And supposedly it already seeped to his bones because his bones were also infected with cancer, and supposedly that proves that it has been going on for at least a few years. There was also another clip of Biden when he was president mentioning that I think Bo and him have cancer or had cancer, something like that. So it is seeming that the previous administrations completely lied about his health, along with lying about everything else about him and what was going on in that administration. It seems like there wasn't a single thing that they told us which was truthful almost. It's like everything we're discovering is like lie after, and obviously that's not even counting all the thievery that was going on there with all the NGOs and stuff.
You're referring to a clip with President Biden speaking, I think it was 2018, where he essentially admitted to having cancer. And then the people surrounding him indicated that he misspoke, but he admitted to having cancer on a live presentation at a podium. And I recall that, but everyone swept it under the rug. That's number one. Number two, it does fit the fact pattern that he had cancer and that he was likely being treated for it, despite what everyone is saying now. And the next clip is from Morning Joe, not exactly my favorite media personality, but we try to be fair. We don't include particularly one or the other side of the spectrum when it comes to legacy media. But here they are, just like all the networks are trying to find out what's the reality. Let's take a look at this one.
You're an oncologist, obviously incredibly respected. You believe that it is likely, just for those just tuning in, you believe it is likely if this prostate cancer has spread to the bone that he could have had it for up to a decade, but certainly it's likely. Would it be fair to say it's likely to have had this for at least several years?
Oh, more than several years. You don't get prostate cancer.
So I just want to stop you. So this is not speculation. If you have prostate cancer that is spread to the bone, then he's most certainly, you are saying, had it when he was president of the United States.
Oh, yeah. He did not develop it in the last 100, 200 days. He had it while he was president. He probably had it at the start of his presidency in 2021. Yes, that I don't think there's any disagreement about that.
And I'll add one other point, and that is, from my experience, typically the treatments that are used in many cancers, and certainly for prostate cancer, will likely lead to the spread of the cancer to a malignancy to other areas. It's unknown if he has, at this point, two separate types of cancer or if it's a spread from the original prostate cancer, but it wouldn't be at all shocking that he had original treatment that was done, the cancer then spread in part caused by the treatment, biopsies and so forth, which can at times lead to that. And now he has advanced prostate cancer that is spread, it's malignant, and they've identified in at least one other area, which is his bones. The concerning thing is bone cancer can be excruciatingly painful. Typically, he'll undergo radiation therapy targeted to his bone malignancy to be able to reduce the pain, but it's not a pleasant thing. And I don't think anyone should be happy or cheering or what have you that anyone is undergoing this. This is a horrible thing. The question relates as to when did they know? First of all, why didn't they catch it? But more likely that they did catch it, and why was this not admitted to the public? And something I've not heard anyone say at all, perhaps I'm the first person bringing it up, it would not be a surprise that a cancer patient undergoing treatment would develop some cognitive impairment, which could explain why we were seeing what we were seeing. And during the phases of treatment that he was getting, it would get worse. And then people would joke and say, it doesn't seem like it's the same Biden. It's like he's better this week. Okay, wouldn't be surprising. It would fit the fact pattern. Will they ever be totally honest about it? Who knows? We hope that obviously he gets the best possible care. The area of cancer treatment generally, the concern is that many of the cancer treatments out there right now, they don't particularly work well. Okay, and I've said in other episodes that if cancer therapy was working so extremely well, we would be closing down cancer centers and cancer institutes. Instead, we're opening more and more of these. It is becoming just like the level of new cases is skyrocketing, especially.
Be sure to watch our other clips and shorts and the entire episode 12 of The Yojo Show